Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the How Bored Symposium. Let's go ahead and cut that music, shall we? I am Christian, your host from How Bored, and we are back at it today with another episode of the Symposium. And today, we're going to go ahead and kick right off into, as always... Oops, wrong thing there. Hold on, sorry. The board game of the week. And for this week, it is actually going to be a game that I've had near and dear to my heart ever since the day it showed up. I want to say 3 years ago at this point, and that is my good old friend Ostia, a Mancala-based just action selection type of game, I guess, is Mancala resource system. There we go. That's the description for it here. For those that are not familiar with the game Ostia, let me give you a quick rundown with it. So again, this is a Mancala resource system created by Tatsuya Chuo, I think. Again, I'm probably super butchering this. I'm so bad at the names. So that's the designer, published by Uchi Bakoya, and it is a huge box, first and foremost. It is very tall, not necessarily very deep, but it is very tall to make up for all of the things that are in it. And part of why I love this game so much, and you've probably heard this mentioned on the channel or the podcast before, that this is currently my number one game of all time. And one of the big reasons that it is because I grew up on Mancala, and I absolutely love the entire mechanism, picking a spot with multiple things and then moving them, dropping them one at a time to do things. Now, where this game takes that whole system and makes it amazing is that you have your own individual player board with your own Mancala rondel. And these pieces are depicted as boats because the whole point is that Ostia is set in ancient Rome, and you are part of this trading market trying to send out your fleet to trade resources and earn reputation in the land, building yourself up to score victory points at the end of the day. So the main Mancala system is a bit unique to most Mancala systems, and this is also kind of based on Trojan. It's like a re-implementation of the Trojan system, if anyone's familiar with that. But how this one works is when you select a section to move your boats and drop them one at a time, whatever section you select to start at, you will count how many boats are in that spot, and you'll gain that many of that type of resource. So there's permits for sailing the seas, there's wood for building boats, there's wheat for completing orders, there's iron for building buildings. I actually think it's stone for building buildings, and then there's gold for just general trading. If you select any of those sections, you'll put cubes on that spot based on how many boats there are, and you'll have that many of that resource to use for different things. And then after you've selected it, counted your boats, and gotten the resources, then you move them, dropping them one at a time, and wherever the last boat lands is the action that you get for the turn. So each resource corresponds with an action. So like the permits will correspond with the sailing action, which is going to let you move your boats on the main board, which will get you more things, resources you can get there, as well as locations you can build at, and just overall get you more connections throughout the land of Ostia. The second one, wood, is tied to shipbuilding, which is, of course, where you get to build more boats, which will let you put more not only on your player board, that will then get you more resources and let you move around quicker, but it'll also put more boats on the main board so you can sail down different paths and get more things unlocked and open to you. So that's a huge one. Next is the wheat, is tied to the market mechanic. There's cards with male and female noble icons, noble man and noble woman icons, as well as what's called amphora tokens, which are extra ways to gain points at the end of the game. So you're selling off wheat, and then you're getting resources back out of it, as well as these icons and the amphora tokens, which will ultimately help you just get more points at the end of the game. Afterwards is stone. This is what you use to construct buildings. Once you gain access to different ports, you can then construct buildings at those locations, which will then give you bonuses either during like trade actions or end of game scoring bonuses and things like that. So those can be really helpful, but also they're just having more buildings out is going to get you more points at the end of the game. The gold market action, at any time you can just trade in 3 gold for any one resource of your choosing. But if you land on it and take the market action, then you'll have different trading ports on the board that if you have a building at, you can use those trades. For example, there's some that'll let you trade like 2 gold to get like 3 of one of the other resources, wheat, stone, permits, wood. You can trade 2 to get 3. And there's basic ones that always are in the game that's just a 1-to-1 and you can trade it up to 4 times. So if you have access to any of those trading markets, you're able to use them for that. But there is 6 slices on this, and I've only mentioned 5 so far. And the 5th one is actually not really one that you want to select at the start of your turn, because it is kind of like a wild spot. It's for catching up on actions, because sometimes when you select boats, you're just doing it for the resources and you know where it's going to land and you're not going to be able to take the action where it lands. So this space can kind of help you catch up on that a little bit. So this last one, which is the administration action, when you have a boat and its movement, like when your last boat lands on that spot, you can take any of the first 4 actions. So again, that's the sailing, the shipbuilding, the wheat market, or building a building. You don't get the market action with the gold, but you could choose one of those 4 actions to do. And then you take the boats that are in that slice, the administration action slice, and move them again. You're not getting any resources out of it, but it'll get you 2 actions. So maybe like I have 3 boats in that spot after landing there, and I'll choose to do sailing as my first action. So I do my sail, whatever. And then I'm going to move those boats, and it's going to land on the wheat action, so I can take that as well. So basically, landing on this spot will let you get 2 actions, but you want to plan it out accordingly, because the first action you do is one of those 4 that you get to choose, and then after that, you're moving the boats, and where those land is the next action that you'll get. So you really want to time it and plan it out accordingly to maximize as much as you can. And there's just a lot of different components and things going on in this. I just really admire the whole resource system, and of course the Moncala system, having to plan that far in advance to like, no, I'm going to move this slice so that next turn this slice is going to be perfect and I'll land exactly where I want it to, but also the slice that I'm moving this turn will benefit me a little bit and give me an action that I also really want. And ultimately at the end of the game, you're just trying to, of course, rack up as many points as possible. There's a whole reward system as well, so that the more you move up it, the more points each individual thing is going to be worth, which is really awesome as well. There's several different endgame conditions for this, like someone building all their boats, someone building all their buildings, reaching the top of the reward track, reaching 3 of the 4 end destination tiles. There's like a little bit of a race in here to try to be the first to these destination tiles. In the multiplayer, there's honor cards where like once you meet certain conditions, you can spend 4 gold to get them, and then they're 12 points at the end of the game, I want to say. Unfortunately, I don't get to play multiplayer a lot, so I don't get the honor cards a whole lot. But that being said, this is actually also one of my favorite games to just play solo, because it presents a really interesting puzzle. So not only are you racing to get all these things done, you're not playing against an AI when you're solo, you're playing against a clock, which is very different than what I have in most of my games. At least the way that the clock is implemented, you have an entire board dedicated to it, and you're using a Caesar token to actually move down this board every time you start a new turn, and every time there's spaces you can land on that'll give you bonus resources to help you along. But whenever that Caesar reaches the bottom of the board, that's your last turn, and then the game ends. Of course, you can end the game early by meeting those end game triggers, and if you ever meet the end game trigger before he gets to the bottom, you're actually going to get bonus points for it, which is really cool. The troubling part is that for base Ostia, the solo mode, you get 15 turns to try to do as much as you want to do. And let me tell you, at first it's very tough. Like if I go back to some of my earlier plays, my points were probably like in the mid to high 100s maybe. And I know that sounds good, but no, for Ostia, that's actually a pretty low score. like if you look at the base game, I think like their thresholds go into like the 400s even for like the higher tiers. So getting in the mid to maybe high 100s is actually quite low. I'd say nowadays I average about the low 300s is where I get now. So I've come quite a ways. But trying to figure out this puzzle and really maximizing every individual interaction is so crucial. And it's so tough to, like, you could theoretically just plan your entire 15 turns ahead of time and then execute it if you really wanted to. I kind of like doing it on the fly, just because it's easier for me to think maybe a few turns in advance, but not like the entire game. So having a little bit of a stopgap there is kind of nice for me, because then I can kind of pivot once I see certain pieces come up and I'm like, wait a minute, I can do things with that. Hold on. And it's really nice to have that kind of layout to you, because there are some things that will change as the game goes, mostly just in like the market cards are really the biggest variable. Otherwise it's pretty, like, once you see the starting layout, that's the entire board for it, and that's what you're dealing with. The market cards are the only thing that are really going to be a variable during the game. But either way, it's just an absolutely, in my mind, flawless design. It does maybe take a little bit to set up. Probably at this point it takes me about like 10-15 minutes by myself, I would say. But I just love this game in general. I've even playing it multiplayer. I've brought it to several people. The one game group I found outside of playing with my parents absolutely clung to this game. I think we actually played it 3 times in one night once. I only expected to play it once and then maybe move on and play something else, but no, they said it might have only been twice that night, but we played it like 3 or 4 times in total in the short time that we were playing games together. And no, they absolutely loved it. It's an incredible game. Again, it's my number 1 game of all time as of right now. I do expect this to change, but we'll see how things go. That might pan out differently. I could be entirely wrong on that, but no, every time I get to table this game, I'm very excited for it. I'll play it like back-to-back weekends sometimes, because I just like, especially when I don't know what to play, it is just such a default game for me because it is so addicting and the puzzle is very intricate and very challenging. Not only that, I do also have the Pirates expansion, which was so intimidating and hard for me to get into for the longest time. But once I started like really diving into it, I still have not mastered it by any remote means yet, but I've started getting better at it. And it adds in so many more challenges to the base game. And it makes you think entirely differently. And not only that, it also gives you asymmetric abilities now, which are one of the biggest shakeups to the entire game. I mean, don't get me wrong, the whole pirate mechanic and the town boards do add a lot to the game. They do change things a lot in terms of how you play and structure your turns. But just those asymmetric abilities will manipulate how you approach your actions a lot of the time. Like I'll get certain asymmetric abilities that I'm just like looking at it, I'm like, well, I can't play the way that I normally do. I gotta kind of build up these slices and make them more powerful, or maybe I just want to take the lower slices to get more out of them. Or it does make you approach the entire mechanics differently. And I really appreciate that. It's ultimately a more of the same expansion, with a couple little changes here and there. But it shakes up the game so incredibly well, and I absolutely love it. It does not take away the core identity of Ostia at all. It just simply adds to it and refines it in a very nice way that takes it from like that good, perfect, maybe just slightly above medium weight game to an actually pretty decently complex game that does make you think much harder than I would say just average Ostia does. But again, it's one that I pull out all the time, and it was ultimately what ended up selling me on Sweetlands as a game. I know it's like out of left field here, but how much I love Ostia and how much I see the designer's purpose, like what they're putting into these games. I realized very quickly how much I gel with their style, and what I've seen and researched out of Sweetlands. I'm like, this is the ideal perfect game for me. Both of these are going to be such complementary pieces to each other in my like solo higher complexity board games. I'm not going to say like high complexity, but higher. It's into that like high 3s, low 4s on BGA type rating. And it's just enough complexity to give my brain that nice juicy treat, but also like not so much that I feel like mush afterwards. Sweetlands might be a little bit more in depth, but that's okay. I'm just so excited for the whole experience, and the production quality of these are fantastic. The size of the games are just ginormous and just dwarf a table sometimes, but I absolutely love everything about it. And again, Tatsuka Chuo, again, probably butchering that name, and I apologize sincerely. I get along so well with his style of designing games. Now, the Garden series, like the Garden trilogy, is a bit of a separation from that for me. Those are, of course, much lighter games, and I don't gel with those quite as much. But when he gets into these heavy titles, they are just incredible. And I'm looking so forward to later this year seeing the Kickstarter campaign for Rosalie. I think that's just going to be the third iteration in like this, personally to me, a trilogy that I think will just rock my socks off and be a fantastic board game. But anyways, I've rambled on this for long enough. Let's go ahead and get into the main topic today. And of course, the main topic is going to be creating the perfect game night. Not to tie too much into that little discussion earlier about Ostia for the game night, but I just want to kind of ramble on and see what your guys' thoughts are and give my takes on what is going to create the quote-unquote perfect game night. It's going to be different for everybody, but I'm going to go through maybe kind of the steps and processes to think about while you're planning these game nights and trying to put them together in the event that you actually have a social group that you're able to play and games with and hang out with and have a good time. Now, my experience on this, I will admit, is semi-limited, but from those experiences, I've like paid attention into the things that were missing or the things that went well out of it, and trying to kind of extract the important details out of it and hopefully be able to use these tips myself in the future as I find more people interested in this hobby to try and cultivate and create that group. So the first thing I want to talk about with, and the first step in any game night, is making the plans. We're all gamers. We're all going to need plans at some point. And that is very important. Like, you need to know what's going on. You can't just, I mean, you can theoretically, but it's really hard to just come up to your friends and say, hey, come over for a game night. And it's like in an hour and we're just going to do it. It's going to happen. I am typically the person that likes to have at least a week advance in notice so I can have everything fully prepped and be mentally ready to do the thing. It's, a lot of the time I like to do at least like 2 weeks, honestly, but 1 week while stretching it is still at least nice. I would say minimum, give it a few days, give everyone a few days heads up notice, and have the plans made before that. Maybe definitely just plan in advance. Talk to your friends, get everything together, get everyone on the same page, make like a meal plan and a game plan for the night. Of course, you want to have a venue. You want to know where you're playing the games. So like if you're doing it at your house, at a friend's house, maybe you're doing it at a local game store because you can like rent a table or whatever, or book one for the night. Have a plan in mind of where you're going to be and how everyone's going to have food and drink and be ready for a considerable amount of time, which of course you also want to determine as well how long everyone wants the game night to be. Sometimes people only want to hop over for a single game, maybe like 2 hours. Sometimes they're in it for the whole like 8 to 10 hour long haul. They want the full day to just be a gaming experience. Knowing what everyone's in for is very important to set those expectations and know exactly what's going on. And at the same time, of course, you want to be able to plan the games that you're going to play that night. You want to know in advance what the game night is going to look like, what the structure is. Like, you're going to play this game into this game and then finish off at this game, or maybe you're just going to play this game and this game, or you really just only want to play this one game and that's it. My biggest advice is curate group, or for this specifically, is curate games for the group, not a group for the games. So you want to know the people that you're going to be playing with, whether they're deeper into the hobby for the game or if they just enjoy the games as a social medium. You really want to know that going in. So know your people as best you can, to really get a taste for what kind of stuff they're going to be into. Like, if they don't know right away what games they want to play, you can suggest stuff to them especially if you already know kind of what their tastes are. Now, if they're brand new into the hobby, obviously you're not going to be jumping straight into something like Gloomhaven or Oathsworn or like some serious like Nucleum. You're not going to jump straight into those super heavy games. You're going to pace them in and ease them in a little bit. So for that crowd, of course, you're going to want stuff more like maybe some light party games or some really light Euros. Something like the Garden Trilogy could be really good. Something that's going to be easy to understand and get to the table, but get their engagement involved and let them start seeing what the hobby's about if they're brand new. Of course, I'll do an entire separate episode talking about getting new people into the hobby. But if you're going to be playing with people that are like really deep in the trenches of board gaming and they play the really complex titles, you know, like in the low to mid fours, just consistently, stuff like Voidfall, stuff like again Sweetlands or Nucleum, those higher tier, deeper complex games, I would say, you know, obviously cater to that. Be ready with at least a heavier game. If you plan on being in there for the long haul, though, like several hours of the day for this game night with those people, even if they're really into heavy games, it's still really nice to break up the night and not have it to be just all heavy games and have everyone's heads turn into mush. You got to break it up with maybe like a light card game or a really medium weight Euro game or like a party game. You know, even heavy gamers still appreciate those lighter games from time to time because it's still playing something, but it's not as mentally taxing as playing a super heavy game like that. So don't be planning to go like Septima, Nucleum, and then like some other heavy game. Like, don't do just heavy games back to back. Give it little breaks with some lighter stuff in between. So plan for that ahead of time. Don't just plan for like super heavy experiences. Plan to have at least some spacers in there. Again, curate games for the group, not a group for the games. If you find a group of heavy gamers, everyone is going to expect to at least have some kind of lighter experience in there. If they plan on going for the multi-game day, if they just want to come in for one heavy game and call it, that's perfectly fine too. And along with this, try not to overplan. Don't get the analysis paralysis about planning a game night. Have kind of loose plans with everyone. Get an idea, like a synopsis of how you plan for the night to go. You know, like, we want to play this game into this game and this game. We're going to have this food available. We're going to be playing here from this time to this time. But understand that things don't always go to plan. You got to be like reasonable again about what games can be played and maybe have some backups ready if time gets away from you. Sometimes maybe you're looking at a game, you're like, okay, that'll probably take 2 hours. Depending on who you're playing with and how the game's going, sometimes that time can even like double. So maybe a game that you expect to take 1.5 hours to 2 hours is now taking like 4 hours, and so now your entire night is just messed up because it didn't go exactly like plan. With wiggle room in mind, and realize that things aren't going to line up exactly the way that you want it to. So if you try to book too much into a tighter time frame, it's going to make it a lot harder to get through it, and maybe there'll be some bad feelings about it. So go in knowing that those things might not happen the way you want. Again, be reasonable about what games can be played in that amount of time that you have planned, and also be ready for that time to maybe even just be cut short unnecessary. Like, sometimes it just happens. It does. And also, again, just being ready for mental capacity for games. If you're planning 3 heavy games back to back, their brains are just going to be like oatmeal by the end of it. Nobody's going to want that. You know, or if your group likes heavier stuff, don't plan a night of just party games. Be ready to play a heavier game or two. It's finding that balance, again, of just knowing who you're playing with and not like going over the top of those plans. Like, I've had this several times where I've known in advance that a theoretical game night was happening, and I had like 6 to 8 games lined up. I mean, granted, several of them were a bit smaller. But I got my hopes and expectations up that we'd get through like at least 5 to 6 of those, and then we played maybe 2. So it is a matter, like, it's going to be a bit of a learning curve, especially like figuring people out and knowing how a game night is going to go with that group. But in that instance, like, I had way over planned what was going to get done. And I'll be honest, there's a lot of times I still do that, but not with the expectation to play all of them, but just for the sake of having options. Like, if we get into a game night and I realize maybe people aren't feeling the vibe of a certain game, we'll be like, okay, well, I got this instead. We can play this right now, and then afterwards decide if we want to come back to that game or if we just want to continue on with our other stuff, whatever. Because sometimes you'll also get into those nights where you'll have a game planned and people will change from the time the plan was made to the time the plan comes up, and they have a change of heart. They're like, actually, I kind of don't want to play that right now. I'm not really in the mood for it. If you got backups ready, it's like, okay, no big deal. We can just play this instead and life will be great and we're fine. So, set the expectations, have a plan ready, but be ready for the plan to fail. Plans are all, especially around game nights, especially when people are adults, life comes up, things get in the way, problems arise, and nothing ever goes exactly to plan. So you got to be ready to pivot and make the most out of it. Gamify your game nights if you need to. Be ready for those things to fail and be like, okay, well, instead of that, let's maximize our efficiency here and we'll do this direction instead, and we'll make things work that way. This next point, I cannot overstate enough. Food and drinks aplenty. You got to make sure that your players are hydrated and fed. As soon as people start getting hungry, they start getting thirsty, they start losing focus in the game, and nothing else matters but fulfilling that thirst and that hunger. It's so hard to keep your head in the game when you've got these pains coming at you that like, oh my god, I need to eat something, or wow, I'm really parched right now, like I need some water, or I need something to drink. You got to be ready to keep people fed and keep people hydrated. Otherwise, they're just going to lose focus so quickly. It's so huge. And you can make a group plan together like, hey, I'm going to provide this thing. Maybe you guys can bring this stuff. And, you can coordinate together to make sure that everybody shares in that responsibility of keeping everyone fed and hydrated. But it definitely needs to be talked about. There's definitely times I've gone into a game night with only games in mind, because of course that's what everyone's there for. That's what we're all excited about. But you can't skip the food and drinks, the snacks and the drinks. People need to have the food and their water or some kind of beverage. And, if they don't, things are just going to go sideways so fast. Like, I cannot overstate this enough. If you have not planned accordingly for this part, especially if you plan for a long haul day, like if it's maybe an hour or two, sure, you might be able to you can get away with that, maybe with not planning as much about it. But if you're going for the long haul, even just like 3 or 4 hours, at that point, you definitely need to have snacks and drinks in mind, and be ready for it. But it's also just a courtesy to make sure that everyone's taken care of during this time. You're all getting together. Nobody wants to be cranky from not having their needs met. I apologize for that lizard. Oof. That was my text ringtone. Sorry about that. But yeah, food and drinks is absolutely a must for making sure the game night goes well. Also, if you are the one that has the games, or at least like the first one that you plan on playing for the night, because sometimes groups will bring like, this person brings this game, this person brings this game. I understand the games can come from multiple sources. But if you are the one who has the first game of the night, show up early and set that game up before people get there. Like if the venue is not at your place, try to show up early and get that game set up ahead of time. It'll shave off so much time at the start of your day. It'll be a much more welcoming experience than everyone having to pool together to set this big game up, or like whatever size game. It's so much better when the game's just already ready to go and people get there, and it's fantastic. One step further, if you're playing in a place with a proper game table that has toppers, you could even theoretically have 2 games set up. You could have the second game that you plan on playing down below the toppers, and then the first one that you're playing on top, just to have 2 games ready, if that's an option. Of course, not always is this going to work. Not always are you going to have a game table like that available. If the option is there, it is so nice to just have those games ready, so that it's like, okay, we're done with this game, tear it down, lift these leaves off, boom, second game ready to go. Everyone's like, oh, fantastic, we can just get right into it. Because there's 2 things that us gamers don't like. It's reading rule books and setting up the game. I don't know why. For me, I do find the setting up of the game to be somewhat exciting. It's annoying to go through the process, but there's also like the tension of like, oh my god, the game's here, we're putting it on the table, it's gonna get played, it's great, and seeing it all come together. I personally do sometimes enjoy setup, but there are also days where I see it as a drag, which is very unfortunate. But most people don't really care for setup. That's totally understandable. So the more of that you can take away from the night and let that time be for proper gaming, the better. If you are able to do this and you have the option to be able to set stuff up early, absolutely do it. Any amount of preparation is going to make the night so much more enjoyable by not spending as much time to do it during the night. Alongside that, if you're bringing any of the games as well, please know that game in and out. Know it forwards and backwards, and be ready to teach it. If people are not familiar with this game, it's going to be expected that you teach it because you're the one that brought it. You're the one that should know about it. You've had the rule book. You've had the resources to know and understand this game ahead of time. And if you do not, you are letting that group so down. No one is more disappointed by a game night than having to learn it with the person that brought it on the night of. Like, if you even warn people in advance, like, hey, I don't know everything about this game yet. I'm still working on learning it. If you guys don't mind, maybe you could check out these videos, like check out like a how to play video or something and kind of like brush up on it, get some of the basics and whatnot, and it'll make the teach easier. You can put out that notice. Don't expect people to follow it. Everyone has their own lives and not everyone's able to find time to do stuff like that. It's okay to put that notice out, but you should at least have a basic enough understanding of the game to be able to teach it, if not a proficient level of experience with the game, to be able to teach it. Like, even if it's a multiplayer game, you should have read that rule book back and forth like at least 3 to 4 times and watched a how to play video or two on it to like know what you're coming into. Now, ideally, if you listened to the last episode, you would have done a lot of this research ahead of time and you would basically already know how the game works before you even get it. But I understand that's different for everybody. Not everyone just gets a game having done that much research on it. They'll get the basics of it and be like, okay, cool enough. But if you are the one bringing the game, you need to know it ahead of time to be ready to teach people. Again, you can offer to people, be like, hey, if you want to, go check out these videos, get this information ahead of time, and you can be a little more prepared for it. And that sometimes people will do that, and it'll actually be really helpful for the teach because you've got somebody else that understands what's going on and can jump in to present questions and fill in the gaps on stuff that you might be missing. Combined teaching is honestly so great when at least 2 people know what's going on with the game, to be able to present it to the rest of the table and get everyone else up to speed, because they'll just fill in gaps for each other, and it's so helpful. But if you're a one-man show and you're the only one that knows the game, you need to know it in and out. Otherwise, it's just going to cause problems. People aren't going to be enjoying the time that they have with that game, and it's going to leave a bad taste in their mouth with it. And I think I've done this maybe once or twice with a brand new game, usually only lighter games. I'm not going to do this with a medium or a heavyweight game because I know how awful it is. But if it's a light enough game, you can get away with it. Like a party game, maybe you're playing Hot Streak for the first time, you've never opened the rule book or whatever, you can learn that in 5 minutes together. That's not even that one's not that bad. But if you're looking at like a 30-page rule book for the first time on a game night, you are the devil. I'm sorry. You're spending more time that evening to learn about that game than you probably are going to be playing it, and people are not going to be enjoying the time they have playing it. So please, for the love of God, know your games ahead of time. I've never had this happen to me, thankfully, but I already know exactly how I would feel and how I would react if this did happen. If somebody brought a game and they knew nothing about it, like it was still in shrink when they showed up, I would look at them and immediately tell them, go back out that door. We're not playing that game. Go leave right now. We have other games here. We will play without you while you learn that game, because I will be so frustrated. I'll be like, okay, at best, we can open that game and look at the stuff together, but we are not playing that game tonight. If you do not know what is going on inside of that box, we are not playing it at all. I am sorry. If I see a box coming in shrink, unpunched boards, you're done. At that point, you're kicked out of the game night. I don't care what anyone else thinks. Either you're out of there or I am, because I am not about to go through that experience. I really do not want to do that at all. So definitely punching that point very hard, but it's a very important one. If you bring a game that you don't know, I'm sorry, you are just the devil. Absolutely. Oh, okay. Well, that tangent aside, at the start of the night, also maybe have a small game or two handy just in case there's a delay. This is a tip I've actually seen a lot around the space, is, having maybe a small card game or something like Scout or whatever, a lighter card game or a lighter small game, having one of those ready that'll play in 10 to 15 minutes in case somebody has something come up and they're going to be a little bit late. Like say your time is set for 7 and you're getting a text from someone at 6:55 like, hey, I'm going to be a few minutes late, I'm just now leaving the house, I had a little hiccup or something. You'd be like, okay, cool, that's fine, we've got everyone else here, we're just gonna bust out this little card game until you show up. So then the night isn't ruined for anybody. You're still playing games, you still have the game ready, the main game that you want to play ready, so that when that person shows up, you can, if you're in the middle of a game, you can say, all right, no hard feelings, this is just a small game, nobody cares about this, it was just to kill the time, let's pack it up, put it away, and play this game that we have ready on the table. Having that backup ready for when those situations come up is so important, especially if you've got a bigger group of like 5+ people. You definitely want to be prepared for stuff like this. If you've got maybe 3 people, it's probably not as big of a deal. Maybe you can go through like the game that you have set up. If one person needs to learn it, or if people still need to learn it, you can maybe teach the person you have there while you're waiting the other person. That can work. But ultimately, especially if you've got a bigger group, have a small game or 2 handy that'll fit your size of group in the event that like 1 or 2 people are not going to make it on time and you need something to kill a little bit of time with. It's always good to have a little bit of preparation. I know I said earlier, try not to overplan. When I said try not to overplan, I just mean like in the amount of games you expect to play. Like, don't be like me and plan to play like 6 to 8 games. Maybe if you're gonna bring 6 to 8 games, plan to play 2 of them at most. Like you're not going to be getting all the way through those as optimistic as you are. If you're going to do that, have that amount of games for choices. Don't do it with the expectation to play all of them, because you're just going to get hurt by the end of it. But in preparation, have a small game or 2 handy when stuff like that comes up. Also, as the night goes on, be ready, like account for time to take breaks for everyone. Time for, especially again, if you're in the long haul, give time for a meal. Like if you order pizza or whatever, if you have meals ready or you plan on doing a meal during the game day, have time blocked out for that. Be ready to take time for that. But also in general, just take time for social breaks. Like if your group is a more social group, give time between games for people to have a little bit of social time. And, I'll admit, I used to be someone who vaped and did nicotine. There are people in the hobby that definitely need their nicotine time. Like, if people need a smoke break or whatever, plan for that as well. Be ready. If you know your people, you know that one of them's a smoker or they vape, know that they're going to need a few minutes, like, between games to probably go get their fill. Now, I've thankfully quit since, I've quit in the last few months here, but definitely, understand that people are going to need that. Or even if your group is all non-smokers, non-vapors, perfect, that's awesome. Still give time for the social, like, relaxation, give people a good opportunity for a bathroom break, let them get up, stretch their legs, stretch their arms, and overall just soak in the gaming experience they just had as well. Like, nothing makes a game better than be able to like reflect on it afterwards and be like, yeah, that was really cool, I did a lot of fun stuff, I'm very proud of this. Or maybe I didn't do so good, but now I can kind of plan and adapt my strategy for the next time we play this, and I can be more ready, more prepared for it. And also it can just build up excitement for the next game. And again, I'm the person, I would take the responsibility for this. If I brought the games, I would give everyone a few minutes break while I start setting up for the next game. Like, I'm okay with just marathoning it through, maybe getting up to go to the bathroom really quick or whatever, get myself a drink in that little intro. But I would start setting up for the next game while people are chilling out. And that's a great time to be like, hey, if you guys need a few minutes, go off, do whatever for a little bit. I'm going to start working on getting this next game going, and we can come back together once it's all ready to go and you guys are all settled and ready. So social, or like just general breaks between games, are very important. Gives a good mental reset, lets you soak in the experience you just had, get ready for the next one. And again, if you're like the host or you're the one with the games, having that opportunity to start setting up again takes more of the frustration away from the players and lets everybody just experience the games and enjoy them a lot better. And it's quite handy. Of course, there's going to be a limited amount sometimes to what you can do to set up, especially if there's hidden information or like drafting that players need to do or whatever, like choosing stuff. That's fine. You can just do as much setup as you can around that in the meantime, if that's what if you're okay with doing that. If you don't need the break and you brought the games, definitely try to set that up in the meantime. But you don't have to as well. You can try to tag team the setups for games past the first one. It's just a nicety if you're able to do it while everyone else is taking a break. And it can kind of be a little break in and of itself. You can kind of pace yourself and take your time on it. But taking breaks between play times is very, very huge. And lastly here, of course, I briefly mentioned earlier, but always be ready for it all to fall apart. Be prepared that everything that you plan for that night can and potentially will go wrong. You can have things so set in stone and have it planned down to the minute, down to the second, and all it takes is just one little spur in there, and that entire night that you had planned is ruined. So go in with high hopes but low expectations. Be excited for it, but also be prepared. Okay, that's right. The phrase is hope for the best, prepare for the worst. There we go. That's what my brain was searching for, that, and it just could not come up with that. Hope for the best, expect the worst. Because then you're always going to be prepared for whatever situation comes up. Like, okay, sure, this thing got ruined, whatever, fine. We have other stuff. We're prepared for this. We've got backups. Things are good. Or maybe the night ends up having to get cut off early, or a player has to leave early because they get called for something, like an emergency, or they have to go to work or something like that. Things do happen and things can go astray, but if you're mentally prepared for it, you can even be physically prepared for it in some cases. But as long as you're mentally prepared for things to not go as planned and you keep low enough expectations, you can find yourself so pleasantly surprised that these things don't phase you as bad as maybe you would have expected to. Like, I know I can be the type from time to time where it's like I'm all excited for a game night and then it gets canceled last second, and then I'm just bummed. Like, I'm so bummed for the rest of the night. If I had prepared myself better for that, I could be like, okay, well, they're not going to be able to make it, but that doesn't mean I can't still play games and have my own little game night. Like, I've already got the time blocked out for this. I already had myself set up to do this, so I'll just have myself a little game night, make a little experience out of it for myself, and not let it ruin my mood. When a lot of the times I do let it ruin my mood because I'm still working on this to myself. But yeah, if it comes up that, like, hey, we're not going to be able to make the game night, it's just not going to happen this week, let's just cancel, we'll reschedule a different time, then it's like, okay. And then I just kind of go mope about it for the night, and I think about the idea of playing games, and then I remember the game night that was supposed to happen, and I get bummed about it. And again, something I need to work in myself. I can take that as the opportunity to be like, well, I already had all of this planned anyways, now I can just do it without the people. I'll play by myself. It's fine. I wanted the social time, sure, but ultimately I also wanted the game, so I can still play by myself and still get that game night experience, which is really good. Again, just be ready for it to fall apart. Feelings change in the moment. Life can get in the way. Be mentally prepared for anything and everything to go wrong. Anything can derail an entire game day / night. There is really no perfect game night, but you can prepare as much as possible. Just don't expect everything to go the right way. Again, hope for the best, expect the worst, and you will theoretically not really be let down as often. It's very, very helpful thing for just in life, just to, again, hope. I'm gonna beat it to death, hope for the best, prepare for the worst. If you can follow that mantra, it definitely saves a lot of headaches, a lot of pain, a lot of misery. If you can come into the expectation that things are going to fall apart, but be excited by the possibility that it won't. And having that dichotomy in your life is very important, and I think very fulfilling and rewarding in its own right to live by that philosophy. Again, there's situations where that's not always going to apply, and that's totally fine. Life is unique to everyone, and experiencing it the way that we do is going to be different than how everyone else does it, and that's the beauty of it. But yeah, just a quick rundown of these tips again. Make the plans in advance, talk to everybody, get the meal plan and the game plan for the night, know like roughly how long everyone wants to spend playing games, have as many of the details hammered out as you can in advance. Again, I'm the kind of guy I like to give at least a week or two in advance notice so that people can be ready for it, have their affairs in order, and be good to go. Curate games for the group, not a group for the games. And I just mean, like, if you have games that you really enjoy, don't go hunting for people to play those games. If you find people around you that enjoy games or are willing to try game nights, work it in, get games that are going to be good for those people. And then maybe like down the line, as you start getting more familiar as a group, you can be like, hey, I really like this game. Can we give it a try one of these nights? Bring it up to the group, suggest it to them. But I never recommend just going and hunting for people to play this one game with. You can, sometimes it works out, but I think if you just find the right people, you're just going to know, and you can just enjoy your time with people as is. You could break bonds by going and hunting for people, to do a specific thing when you've got friends right there. Sometimes that can hurt some of those relationships. So just tread carefully on that, at least I would say. Don't overplan. Don't plan to do like 6 heavy games in a 3-hour span. It's not going to work. Know the people that you're going to be playing with, know what games are going to work well for them, know what games are going to work well for the time frame, and just overall, like, find the balance of filling the time appropriately, but leaving wiggle room for things to happen. Always make sure you have food and drinks available for your players. They're going to lose a lot of focus if you don't, and it's going to be a rough night. If you're the one that has the games, or at least the first one that you're playing, have it set up ahead of time. Be ready for that. If you are bringing any games, know them ahead of time and be ready to teach them. Don't be that guy that's opening up a box for the first time on a game night. Also, having a small game or two handy in the event that someone gets delayed at the start of the night. Great for having the group stay entertained during those times, or someone has to leave for a little bit and come back. Being able to fill those gaps, fantastic. Taking breaks between games for social time, absolutely crucial. Gives everyone that mental reset to be able to keep going and push on through the night and get the games played that you want to play. Also, be able to soak everything in and actually like mentally absorb everything happening. And lastly, just being ready for everything to fall apart, because these plans are not going to line up the way that you want them to, and it sucks. It does suck when those plans fall apart, but being ready for them makes them suck not quite as bad. So I think that is quite a bit of enough for the main topic of creating the perfect game night, quote unquote. And let's go ahead and get into the end of the episode here, the final segment. And I'm going to start off with the question of the week here. What is your go-to snack for game nights? What do you normally pick? I'm like a chip guy. I love chips. I'm very careful about the chips that I pick. I don't want them to be like super dusty ones or like super oily. You got to get that good balance of good flavor, but not messy, because you got cards, you got components. You don't want to get them all dirty and whatnot. I know that's like a big thing in the gamer world is chip fingers, especially Dorito or Cheeto fingers. Nobody wants that in their games. So choose those carefully. A lot of people like candy. When it comes to candy, I'm like a chocolate guy, sometimes gummies. It's hard for me to say I have a go-to snack for game nights, but if I had to choose, it probably would be some kind of chips. I'm a big chip guy. I love chips. Chips are great. Also, I'm a Dr. Pepper fan. Dr. Pepper or some kind of Mountain Dew, honestly, are like my 2 go-tos for drinks. But, I'll mess around with the other stuff. I don't mind other stuff. But what are yours? What are some of your go-to snacks for game nights? And for maybe those that are curious, for these end questions that are listening on a podcast app of their choice, whether it be an antiquated podcast app or a modern podcast app on Podcasting 2.0, because this is on an actual RSS feed, so you can listen to it anywhere. If you're any of those people, you don't know how to respond to these questions, I did create an email finally. It is howbored. Actually, let me get the email up here. Sorry, I don't want to get it wrong for you. Okay, it is howboredpodcast@gmail.com. I just created a free account, so just so you can send in your responses. I literally don't have it for anything else, but again, that is howboredpodcast@gmail.com. Just a nice generic one. Again, I set this up so you guys can send in your responses. I might do segments in the future where I talk about things that you guys send in. If you want those to be talked about, of course, if you want to keep it private, that's totally fine. If you just want to be part of the participation for it, totally cool. I love hearing your feedback and I love hearing your thoughts on stuff on YouTube. So I figured I might as well bring that here and give you guys a chance to actually respond, give feedback, give responses to these questions. So again, howboredpodcast@gmail.com if you're interested in sending anything my way. But yeah, that is the question for the week. What is your go-to snack for game nights? Now, as well, with this section, this is just, again, my chance to ramble and talk about things I've been playing lately, things I'm excited for, what's going on in my board gaming world. So I actually just got done, as of recording this, uploading the May 2026 board game recap and stats. And in that, I do mention I've been playing a lot of Button Shy lately, and I actually really don't mind it. I've been getting, the more I get, the deeper I get into the Button Shy games. And I'm kind of at a point where I don't want to keep buying more games, especially now that they're going into boxes instead of wallets, and you got to get the wallets separately. It's like, it's not much to add on, but if you get a game, you might not necessarily be guaranteed to get the wallet with it, because it's going to be on demand. They'll produce the wallets, which I get as a business model. It makes sense for them to switch over to boxes, all the points they made. It just kind of sucks because that's like the biggest draw to them, is having them in the wallets. But at the same time, the games that I do have, I've been really deeply enjoying. They're very, very light in rules, and it's mostly the Simply Solo series that I'm referencing here. They're very light in rules and very easy to understand, but they do present very fun puzzles that will allow me to be intrigued day in and day out, and, you know, present new opportunities for me to explore these games. Like Nice Cup is what I've been really digging into quite a bit lately, and I enjoy very thoroughly the puzzle that that game presents. And I click, like I said in the stats video, I click with it very well. I've had, in my 5 plays currently, I've had 2 perfect scores already, one of which including the expansion collection, one of the modules. And I don't know, it's a very fascinating experience to witness just how unique these little 18 card decks can be, especially with low to the ground easy rules. How unique and somewhat challenging they can be, like just enough to scratch that itch for when I got like 15 minutes to half an hour to be able to bust out a little game and be like, ooh, yes, I got a game with me that I can just play at will and have a great time with. I absolutely love those little experiences, and again, I've been digging really hard into those. I want to see more about the campaign that just ended here recently that had the Rise of Jarl. I think it was the Rise of a Jarl, Astro Rove, Shaper, and what was the other one? There was 4 games in it, but Rise of a Jarl was the one I was really curious about the most. I didn't see a whole lot on it, but it's like a civilization building game, and like an 18 cards for a solo game, that's impressive. So I definitely got to see more on it, but again, just in general, these button shy games I've been playing and really enjoying a lot lately. Lands of Amazement, The Last Lighthouse. I've brought up in the stats video, Mysticana was another one I really like, which isn't a solo game. It does have solo modes, but it's not explicitly a solo game. What else have I been playing? A Nice Cuppa. Dragon's Gift has been really good. Food Chain Island is excellent. I'm shocked. Like when I first heard the concept of an 18 card deck, I was like, whoa, this, I don't see how this is going to work. It doesn't seem like there's going to be a lot of draw this game, not a lot of replayability. And I've been proven wrong. I'll admit that. Granted, most of the replayability for several of these games for me is coming from their expansions, but even still, just 36 cards on average is like, that's not a lot. And to be able to get so much replayability out of it is really exciting and really thrilling. I actually quite enjoy it. If you guys have not tried Button Shy, first off, I definitely always recommend, of course, looking into them and getting familiarity with the games before just going and pulling the trigger. But I think they're quite unique. They don't just do solo games. There's actually several like just multiplayer games. I do have a couple. Like Tussie Mussy is a 2-player only game. I do have Ransom is the other one, which is great. But that is 1 to 4 players, so you can play it solo. The solo mode is different from the multiplayer. The multiplayer has like a bluffing aspect to it, which I think is really cool. Oh shoot, what other Button Shy games do I have? Oh, Banned Books, that's another solo game. I have quite a few Button Shies actually. I'm impressed at how many I've racked up by this point in time. And they do add up quick. They can very much add up very fast. Yeah, there's Food Chain Island. Sorry, I'm just going through my list right now to make sure that I remember actually. Where's the multiplayer ones? I know I have them. Oh, I guess this is it. It's a 2-player role-playing game, actually. I haven't gotten to play it yet. That is like one of the only games in my collection I have not played. But it looks really cool. Again, 2-player only role-playing game about saying goodbye. And you can be as calm and chill or as dramatic as you want with it. You're just using the cards to kind of form the storyline, like those moments in it, and you can fall out of sync with each other in your goodbyes. You can have it be like I'm going to war, this is the last time I will see you, goodbye. Or it can be like a couple of friends just casually like, okay, goodbye, that was a great lunch, have a great day. It can be on any level that you want it to, and they even have like guides in there to walk you through a couple scenarios and let you experience the basics of it and get the understanding of it, and then you can just snowball from there. Again, I haven't played it yet. I would be very curious to play it though, because I think it definitely has some good potential. 2 players only, but still seems like quite a bit of fun. I know I have other multiplayer stuff. Sprawlopolis is another co-op game. Of course, has solo as well, but a pretty decent co-op to it. Oh my goodness, excuse me. I don't know where all this burping is coming from. Okay, I can't find any of them for the life of me right now, and I really don't know why. But again, Bunchai has a whole breadth of games just packed with these little 18 card wallets that are surprisingly, well, again, very portable, obviously being little wallets, but surprisingly replayable, enjoyable for any range that they fit into. Dust Biters, that's another one I have, 2-player only. Pocket edition. It's just like racing. It's kind of Mad Max in a way, like 2-player Mad Max. It's interesting. I quite like it, but that's what I've been playing a lot of lately. I did a lot of my heavier games early in the month of May, finished off my Septima, my Expeditions, my Endeavor, and then like the second half, once I got my Button Shy Kickstarter in, that really was a lot of my playtime after that, because they were just a lot of fun. I've still been playing my heavier games. Yesterday, as of recording this, I actually just played 2 back-to-back games of Scythe and finally finished the Rise of Fenris campaign. That's been a long time coming. I've had it since, I think I got it in January. I think I got it around the same time as Expeditions, if not with Expeditions. I might have gotten it before that. I think I got it last year in the fall, and I just now finally finished it. I had literally 2 episodes left to go, and I was just kept stalling on it. I don't know why it was so daunting, but now I'm finally through it, and I just have all the modules available now to play at will, whatever. Of course, I did play through the campaign solo. Maybe someday I'll play through it multiplayer, so other people can experience it as well. But I just love Scythe. That was a great time as well to be able to experience all those. And of course, right now I get to look forward to Deep Regrets coming to me hopefully within the next week, but it might be a couple weeks. I just got a tracking number. It hasn't quite reached the postal services yet, so I'm still waiting on that transfer to happen. But hopefully here pretty dang soon, I'll have my copy of Deep Regrets and I'll be able to start playing it and maybe even talk about it as a game of the week here sometime soon. So anyways, that is it for this episode of How Bored Symposium. Thank you guys again so much for joining. As always, if you enjoy the content, don't forget to follow or subscribe wherever you are. And I love hearing from you. I will talk at you guys next week. Have a great time, and we'll see you then. Peace out.